Change your brain and you change your life. That's not a metaphor. That's not motivational fluff. That's a biological reality rooted in the way your nervous system is designed to adapt, rewire, and optimize itself based on what you repeatedly do, think, and feel. Your brain is not fixed. It is plastic. Every experience you have, every thought you think, every action you take, every habit you repeat is shaping the physical structure and function of your brain. Neurons that fire together wire together. This means your daily patterns are not just behaviors, they are instructions. Instructions that tell your brain what to become. If you wake up and immediately reach for your phone, scroll endlessly, and flood your system with dopamine from external stimuli, you are training your brain to crave distraction. You are lowering your baseline for focus. But if you wake up and expose your eyes to natural light, move your body, and engage in intentional thinking, you are training your brain to become alert, disciplined, and goal-oriented. Same brain, different inputs, completely different outcome. Most people are trying to change their life by forcing motivation. But motivation is not the starting point. It's the byproduct of neurochemistry. Dopamine, in particular, is not just about pleasure. It's about drive. It's about pursuit. It's about your willingness to move toward effortful goals. And here's the key. Dopamine is heavily influenced by what you choose to do consistently. When you complete hard tasks, even when you don't feel like it, your brain releases dopamine, not just during the reward, but during the effort itself. Over time, your brain starts associating effort with reward. This is how disciplined people are built, not by willpower alone, but by conditioning their brain to find satisfaction in the process. On the other hand, if you constantly chase easy rewards, junk food, endless scrolling, instant gratification, you spike your dopamine quickly and crash just as fast. Over time, your brain becomes less sensitive to dopamine. You need more stimulation just to feel normal. That's when focus disappears, motivation drops, and life starts to feel flat. So changing your brain begins with understanding this. Your behaviors are shaping your chemistry, and your chemistry is shaping your identity. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your neural wiring. The good news is that wiring can be changed. Let's talk about attention. Your ability to focus is one of the most powerful tools you have, and it is trainable. Every time you resist distraction and bring your attention back to a single task, you are strengthening specific neural circuits in your prefrontal cortex. This is the area responsible for decision-making, impulse control, and long-term planning. Think of attention like a muscle. If you constantly interrupt it, you weaken it. But if you train it deliberately by working in focused blocks, removing distractions, and pushing through moments of discomfort, you increase your capacity to concentrate deeply. And deep focus is where real change happens. There's also something critical about discomfort. Your brain has a built-in system that tries to keep you safe and conserve energy. It will resist effort. It will generate thoughts like, "This is too hard," or "I'll do it later." But those thoughts are not truth. They are signals. Signals that you are stepping outside your comfort zone. When you lean into that discomfort, something powerful happens. Your brain releases chemicals like norepinephrine and dopamine that increase alertness and readiness. Over time, you become more resilient. What once felt difficult becomes manageable. What once felt impossible becomes routine. This is how transformation works, not through sudden bursts of inspiration, but through repeated exposure to effort. Sleep is another critical factor. If you're not sleeping properly, your brain cannot rewire effectively. During deep sleep, your brain consolidates learning, clears out metabolic waste, and resets your neurochemistry. Without it, your ability to focus, regulate emotions, and stay motivated drops significantly. You cannot outwork a sleep-deprived brain. Then there's movement. Exercise is one of the most powerful tools for changing your brain. It increases blood flow, releases growth factors like BDNF, and enhances mood-regulating chemicals. Even short bouts of physical activity can shift your mental state dramatically. Your brain and body are not separate systems. They are deeply interconnected. When you move your body, you are directly influencing your brain's capacity to think, feel, and perform. Another key element is your internal dialogue. The way you speak to yourself is not just psychological, it's biological. Negative self-talk reinforces neural pathways associated with doubt and fear. But when you consciously shift your language, when you challenge limiting thoughts and replace them with constructive ones, you begin to reshape those pathways. This doesn't mean blind positivity. It means accurate thinking. It means recognizing that your current state is not permanent and that your brain is capable of change. Environment also plays a massive role. Your brain is constantly taking cues from your surroundings. If your environment is chaotic, distracting, or filled with triggers that lead to unproductive behavior, your brain will adapt to that. But if you design your environment to support focus and discipline, clean spaces, minimal distractions, clear goals, you make it easier for your brain to perform at a higher level. You're not just managing time, you're managing inputs. And then there's repetition. Change does not happen overnight. Neural rewiring requires consistency. Every time you repeat a behavior, you strengthen the associated neural pathway. At first, it feels effortful, but with repetition, it becomes automatic. This is how habits are formed, not through intensity, but through frequency. Small actions, repeated daily, lead to massive changes over time. You don't need to overhaul your entire life in one day. You need to start with one behavior, one deliberate change, and then repeat it until it becomes part of who you are. Because ultimately, identity is not something you declare. It's something you build through evidence. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you are becoming. If you act like someone who is disciplined, focused, and resilient even when it's hard, your brain starts to encode that identity. And once that identity is established, your behaviors begin to align with it automatically. You stop relying on motivation. You operate from wiring, and that's the shift, from forcing change to becoming change. Your brain is always adapting. The question is whether you are directing that adaptation or leaving it to chance. Every moment is an opportunity to reinforce the person you want to become. Every decision is shaping your neural architecture. Every effort is building momentum. You are not stuck. You are not fixed. You are in a constant state of becoming. Change your inputs, change your behaviors, change your chemistry. And when you change your brain, you change your life. And when you change your brain, you change your life. But to truly understand this, you have to accept a deeper truth. Your brain does not care about your goals. It cares about efficiency. It cares about energy conservation. It cares about reinforcing whatever patterns you repeat most often. That means if you repeatedly choose comfort over challenge, distraction over focus, hesitation over action, your brain will optimize for those patterns. It will make them easier, faster, and more automatic. This is why breaking out of old habits feels so difficult. You are not just fighting behavior, you are going against well-established neural pathways that have been reinforced over time. But difficulty is not a sign to stop. Difficulty is a signal that change is happening at the level of your brain. When you choose a new behavior, especially one that is effortful, your brain initially resists. It generates friction. But if you persist, something critical happens. Synaptic connections begin to strengthen. Myelin, the insulating layer around neurons, starts to build. Signals travel faster, the behavior becomes smoother, more efficient, less taxing. What once required intense effort becomes your default. This is the mechanism behind transformation. Not inspiration, not luck, but biological adaptation through repeated action. There is also a powerful relationship between stress and growth that most people misunderstand. Not all stress is harmful. In fact, certain types of stress are essential for rewiring your brain. When you expose yourself to controlled, manageable challenges, whether it's physical exertion, cognitive effort, or emotional discomfort, you activate systems in your brain that promote learning and resilience. This is often referred to as a hormetic response. Small doses of stress, followed by recovery, make you stronger. They increase your capacity to handle future challenges, but avoiding stress altogether leads to fragility. Your tolerance decreases. Your ability to adapt weakens. So the goal is not to eliminate stress. The goal is to engage with the right kind of stress in the right amounts, consistently. There's also the matter of timing. Your brain operates on rhythms, circadian rhythms, ultradian rhythms, that influence when you are most alert, most focused, and most capable of deep work. If you align your most demanding tasks with these natural peaks, you enhance your ability to perform and to encode new patterns effectively. Ignoring these rhythms leads to friction. Working with them creates flow. Another key element is reward prediction. Your brain is constantly trying to predict outcomes based on past experiences. When you set a goal and work toward it, your brain releases dopamine not only when you achieve the goal, but also when you make progress toward it, especially if that progress is slightly better than expected. This means you can train your brain to stay motivated by breaking larger goals into smaller, achievable steps and acknowledging progress along the way. Each small win reinforces the behavior. Each step forward strengthens the circuit. But there's a catch. If you constantly reward yourself without effort or celebrate prematurely without real progress, you disrupt this system. Your brain starts to associate reward without work and motivation declines. Effort must precede reward. Another factor that shapes your brain profoundly is social interaction. Humans are wired for connection. The people you surround yourself with influence your behaviors, your beliefs, and even your neurochemistry. If you are around individuals who are driven, disciplined, and growth-oriented, your brain begins to mirror those patterns. This is not just psychological. Mirror neurons in your brain fire when you observe others performing actions. This means you are, in a very real sense, practicing behaviors just by being around certain people. Your environment is not neutral. It is either reinforcing the person you want to become or pulling you away from it. Silence and stillness also play a role. In a world filled with constant stimulation, your brain rarely gets the chance to reset. Moments of stillness, whether through meditation, quiet reflection, or simply sitting without input, allow your brain to reorganize, integrate information, and strengthen neural connections. These moments are not unproductive. They are essential for clarity and long-term performance. Breathing is another tool that directly influences your brain state. The way you breathe can shift your nervous system from a state of stress to a state of calm, or from lethargy to alertness. Slow, controlled breathing can reduce anxiety and increase focus. Rapid, rhythmic breathing can elevate energy levels. You have direct access to your brain state through your breath. And then there's the concept of identity reinforcement through action. Every time you follow through on something you said you would do, you build trust with yourself. This trust is not abstract. It is encoded in neural circuits associated with self-efficacy and confidence. But every time you break that promise, you weaken those circuits. Confidence is not something you think your way into. It is something you build through consistent evidence. There will be days when you don't feel like showing up. Days when your energy is low, when your mind is scattered, when the path forward feels unclear. Those are the moments that matter most. Because when you act despite those feelings, you are sending a powerful signal to your brain that your behavior is not dictated by mood. This is where real change is solidified. You begin to operate from a place of commitment rather than convenience. Over time, this creates a separation between what you feel and what you do. And in that separation lies freedom. Freedom from impulsive decisions, from emotional reactivity, from the cycles that keep you stuck. You become intentional. Your brain starts to recognize a new pattern, that you are someone who follows through, who embraces effort, who moves forward regardless of internal resistance. And once that pattern is established, everything begins to shift. Your baseline changes. What once felt like effort now feels normal. What once required discipline now requires less thought. You begin to experience a different level of clarity, focus, and control. This is not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming adaptive. Your brain is designed to evolve, to respond to challenges, to optimize for the demands you place on it. If you demand very little, it will give you very little. If you demand growth, consistency, and resilience, it will rise to meet those demands. But it only responds to what you repeatedly do, not what you intend, not what you plan, not what you say, what you do. So every moment becomes a decision point, a chance to reinforce a pattern or to change it, a chance to stay the same or to evolve. And evolution does not require massive change all at once. It requires direction. It requires consistency. It requires the willingness to engage with discomfort and to repeat effort until it becomes identity. Your brain is always listening, always adapting, always becoming a reflection of your actions. The question is not whether your brain will change. The question is how you are choosing to shape it moment by moment, behavior by behavior, day after day.